Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Division video. Today is a very special one. I am in a very privileged position to be able to bring you guys some exclusive information on patch 1.7. Massive have given myself and a couple of the ETF Charlie members permission to speak about a couple of the aspects of the upcoming patch 1.7 ahead of their State of the Game stream this week. If you cast your mind back to last week, just before ETF Charlie began, I uploaded a discussion with George, aka BinaryNumb, and Taylor, aka Rxlyat, and in that we spoke about 1.7, our thoughts based on the information that had currently been shared, and what we thought needs to be done in order to truly bring life back to the game. Massive actually saw that discussion, but since then, George and Taylor have been busy taking part in ETF Charlie, and today I'm once again joined by both of them to speak about 1.7. Now, it's important to remember that a lot of what they covered last week is under NDA, so there is only so much we can speak about today. But regardless, this video is going to contain some brand new information on some of the activities you'll be taking part in 1.7. But anyway, enough preamble, let me first start by introducing the guests. So first up, George, how you doing, buddy?
Hey man, I'm good.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me back.
And also, Rxlyat or Taylor, how you doing, buddy?
Very good, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back, man.
That's all right, thank you for joining me. Obviously, ETF, super exciting time. We'll get on to that in just a second. But for those of you guys that are watching the video, it's also really exciting as well because these guys told me that while they were at the ETF, Massive, people like Yannick and Hamish and stuff, they obviously saw the discussion that we did last week. So any of you guys that posted comments and wanted to try and sort of, make yourself heard, then they definitely saw the discussion. They definitely, they're obviously always listening and whatnot. It's really good to know that when we do sort of put out like opinion pieces, they do still listen. But anyway, enough of that. Let's talk initially about the ETF. So throw it to you guys first. George, how about you lead off with this? How was the overall ETF experience?
It was exhausting. it was early mornings, late nights. Do you know what? We're in Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
It's the north of England, and you expect terrible weather.
Yeah.
We had 22 to 25 degrees every single day, and we were stuck in a boardroom with 1,001 post-its, talking very intensely and sometimes very emotionally about the division. It was mentally and physically exhausting, but incredible. Yeah,
awesome.
It was fantastic.
Well, I think it's good to hear as well, because obviously there's to a lot of people that don't necessarily get a chance to get involved in the ETF, and up until this point, this is a huge step forward, because up until this point, like anytime the ETF finishes, it's just completely locked down, right? There's obviously like no communication as to what went on in the ETF. Until they obviously start talking about stuff themselves, so people don't really get an idea. And there are some people that think to themselves, does the ETF actually make a difference? Is it just like a PR stunt? So to know that obviously it's a full-on day, 4 days of like 10-hour shifts and stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes in, right? So like Taylor, what about you? How did you find the experience?
Pretty much as George said, it was intense, it was stressful at times, but it was probably one of the best experiences I've had so far in my life, easily.
So do you feel that you as a group like ETF Charlie, do you feel that when you left it that you actually made a difference? Like your presence there was going to have some kind of effect on the future of the game?
100%, easily. Yeah, there was times where like some of the devs were taking notes and we'd pop up and say something, they'd pretty much scribble out the notes and like either start like new on the whiteboard or like just rip up their sticky notes that they had and write down ours instead.
Okay, awesome.
So they did really, like, they put us in some sticky situations as well, if that makes sense. Like,
no,
good.
I get you. Yeah. No, that's it's super encouraging to hear, because there is as like as someone that's been like in the industry before anyway, there's always the risk in these kind of things you get to a point where they've got this vision, they've got this kind of vision of where they want the update to be, and they're kind of somewhat fixed on it already, and they kind of more so go to people for kind of acknowledgement of that sort of stuff. So there is the wonder whether the ETF is more a case of, this is what we're doing, are you guys happy with it? But to know that you guys can actually like have a genuine impact and sort of help shape it is very, very encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. It was if I can just to quickly say, it was actually refreshing, because you leave so much information on the Ubisoft forums and so much information where you chuck it to the community managers on Twitter, or God forbid you'd put a post on Reddit. And you think that they don't know, but a lot of the time they're talking, they're reading and watching content from the community all the time, right? They know about content that I've never even heard of from makers that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So they were always listening, and I think the hardest point for them is sort of really just is filtering it all out to really what the problem is. And I think that's what hopefully our ETF was able to do, was sort of just give them direct feedback. And because we're all represented, there were people there. There was one guy who represented like guilds, right?
Oh, nice.
Massive, like proper guild. So it was more representative of large groups of people. So hopefully we were able to sort of give them more focused information back. Which, as Taylor said, like they went to the drawing board over and over again with some of the feedback we had. So
yeah,
you definitely felt like you made an impact, which was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, you were sort of saying as well, I was chatting to you just before we started recording this podcast, that it's kind of an eye-opener as well, because, I mean, this is something that a lot of people don't realise, that they don't really quite understand the processes that go into, like, development. So it's very easy for someone to, like, drop into a stream and be like, this is broken, why haven't you fixed it? But, you said, like, when you had a chance to sort of be there, it kind of opens your eyes to exactly what's involved, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was unbelievable at the steps that they had to take just for like the minute changes. There's like 15 different jobs in the way of just making a tweet to a door or a tweet to a sound or something like that. And it was interesting that everything they do, legal has to be involved as well, right?
Yes.
To make sure.
Yeah.
It's just mental, right? You had no idea that the amount of resource that's required to make tweaks and changes, and I think that was probably the biggest appreciation that all of us definitely walked away with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that's something. Again, it's something that I've always like personally been quite sympathetic of developers. Again, having that sort of insight and having kind of worked in that environment before. So I think it's always good for like more people to try and get that understanding and try and sort of like realize what what exactly is involved. But so yeah, really good to hear that obviously the ETF was was a really good experience. But we're obviously here to talk about some of the 1.7 stuff. So for those of you guys watching the discussion, if you guys wanted like a super condensed breakdown, then Taylor does also have a video over on his channel, which I've linked down below. So definitely check that out. That's kind of like a super condensed version of what we're about to chat about now. But to recap our last discussion, we effectively spoke about the game as it exists right now, and then spoke about what we thought of 1.7 based on the information that was previously shared. This was, of course, pre-ETF, so we spoke about, at the time, what were called seasons, feats, and some of the other stuff as well, and then we spoke about how seasons were kind of a potentially interesting idea, feats seemed like a less interesting idea, and from what we've spoken about so far, there's a couple of things we can talk about today. These guys have been given permission to sort of like share this with us so far, and that is effectively what seasons are now and what feats are now. So I'm going to basically like let both of you guys sort of like explain all of this, because obviously I'm now on the outside. I actually have no idea what this stuff is. So do you want to start off with what used to be called seasons and are now called global events?
Okay, so pretty much seasons are now known as global events, and they're really, really fun, like so fun. So there's modifiers that you can apply to these, let's say, list of activities, and you can apply a choice of modifiers. So instantly during the global event, it is a global modifier is applied, which makes the list easier for you to complete if you play it solo. And then you can add two more modifiers, and one of them is a group modifier, and the other one is a... George, you're going to have to help me here because I've completely gone blank.
Yeah, so global events are time-related events. And now at the time of this, the plan was to have them as to run for a week once a month. Okay. But that time that may change. But the idea is that it's a time-related event that will last for a month. And what that will do is it will affect all PvE content in the game.
Oh right.
So no matter what,
everything in the game.
Yeah, so as a player, you will be enrolled within the global event. You sort of can't opt out of it.
Okay.
However, as a global event, it won't hinder your experience.
Right,
so
I see.
the part of it is basically you will get rewards whether you play no matter what. But then what you have is single player multipliers and you have group play multipliers. And what they do is they add challenges to that PvE content for you to obtain more reward.
Right, I get you.
So that's basically, so you sort of have three tiers to it. We can't go into the specific mechanics about what the planned intentions are, but we can to it. So the ones that we played was where every headshot that you did, basically the head exploded in like this green pus.
Okay.
And the sort of some of the multipliers there were sort of added conditions around that,
Right.
which basically made it more of a challenge. So as a single player, it's probably a lot easier, whereas in a group, there's more mechanics that involve more than one of you to obviously kill an NPC, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
And basically what that does is then you earn this reward over the period of a week, and then and during that time there will be a time restricted, or at the time of discussion, this, you know, it's all could change drastically, but
Yeah.
will be a reward that will only be claimable, and it's a stat-based reward, so a new loot item that is claimable during that period.
Right, I see. Okay. Interesting. So let's just kind of like give a sort of step back a second and have a quick recap. So this is so it will last for a week and it will happen once a month, right?
Yep.
Yes, they can.
And this applies to. Oh, go on.
No, I was going to say they can change in time length, so it could be longer and shorter, but they could be used to tie in with special events. So, for example, like 4 days over Christmas or something, or over Halloween.
I get you. Okay,
that's the sort of idea they were giving us. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you could liken it to, you know, an Overwatch competitive season runs for X period of time, and then it'll happen once a month. So every month you'll have a new season, effectively.
Yes,
so
exactly. Yeah.
You have that, and so it's a global modifier that affects absolutely everything. So if I do missions, if I do HVTs, if I do underground, if I do
any PvE content,
even things like, what about if I do like survival PvE?
No. If you do survival no, they didn't confirm on survival because that's additional. It's all basically light zone content.
Right.
So,
I get you. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. So missions,
but it would work in
incursions.
underground.
Okay. Brilliant. Yeah.
That is
okay.
confirmed,
Yeah. That's good. So yeah. So you're doing. So you can pick and choose everything. So I suppose the difference, because of course, you know, my understanding before, of course, you go into the ETF was that we thought it would be like a playlist where they select certain activities, but this way, you know, the modifier is present and you do whatever you want.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
so you play as normal, right? So you're always you're opted into it, and you just play as normal, and then you basically collect this reward for doing PvE content.
Okay, right. I get you. That's fair enough. So the question from me then is that if it's applied globally to everything, no matter what, what is the incentive, aside from getting the item, to do particular activities? Because one of the kind of things that we spoke about beforehand in the previous discussion was that this was potentially cool because it might make us revisit missions that, say, we hadn't done since we leveled our character, right? Or it might make us go and revisit things that aren't necessarily the same missions. But from what it sounds at the moment, it sounds to me like there's a modifier, but I could just go and do Lexington back-to-back, or I could go and do, like, Madison back-to-back just to kind of complete the conditions and then get my placement.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. So, the modifiers will change the way that you play.
Okay.
So necessarily losing Lexington might not be the smartest move because of the multipliers or the conditions that are applied.
Okay.
Due to the fact of the difficulty. So if you wanted to go and put on, say, a modifier, for example, that modifier may make that mission extremely difficult to do.
Right, I see.
Because of the way that it's laid out and the type of enemies you're facing, right?
Okay.
So the idea around it is it will push you towards a different play style, even maybe try different weapons or a different gear set.
Okay.
And that's sort of the idea around it.
All right, fair enough.
I do just want to add, I'm pretty sure it was only select missions and incursions. Because when we played it, there was about 6 or 7, and it was all cleaner based, and that's where the green explosions came from. But then the global modifier applied to everything, but then you'd only have certain effects in certain missions.
In certain modifier, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So the modifiers themselves only affected cleaner based activities, wasn't it?
So to be clear, in that respect, so it's not as such that the modifier is specifically limited to activities, but if one of the modifiers is tied to cleaners, then you would obviously only go to missions that have cleaners.
Yeah, they give you a select playlist. Yeah. Okay,
so it's still good to know that the global modifier can still affect like everything in the map. It's just that if it does happen to target a particular enemy type, then obviously there's no point in going to a mission that doesn't have the enemy type, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well I mean that's fair enough. So again, kind of top level summary. is it's a timed event that'll occur every month, once a month for, you know, like, and it can be, you know, a period of time, but typically at the moment you were looking at like a week, and then you complete that with conditions. There are conditions for solo play, group play, and something else.
Yeah, then it was just a activity modifier.
Okay, activity modifier, and then if you do, and then once you complete that, at the end of the season, you get an item, a stat-based item, no kind of specifics just yet, but an item for that season. It can only be obtained during that season. Question for that: what's the qualification to get the item? Like, is it, you know, are you going to have to be one of those people that has to play like solidly non-stop, or is like for the kind of casual players out there, will they be able to drop in, do some season stuff, and then drop out and still get their item?
So that was actually a little bit of an area of contention within the group, and I think that's what we were able to sort of assist with. So there'll be, without getting too specific, there'll be 2 ways to purchase. One that will suit the grinders, and ones that will suit the average day.
Okay,
the everyday. So you
it's
feel
at
like
least,
you're gaining no matter what you're doing.
Okay, nice. Okay, all right, sounds interesting. So that is, yes, that's a quick summary of what used to be seasons and is now known as global events. So the other thing we can speak about used to be Feats, which again, prior knowledge to everyone else watching this video that kind of hasn't got ETF knowledge, Feats were previously described as kind of like in-game achievements. You know, you do a few things, and if you do it, you get a patch, and that was probably the most underwhelming thing that we heard about beforehand. However, now they're known as commendations, right? And Taylor, do you want to sort of like lead in with this? Like, what are commendations now?
Yes, so they are still in-game achievements.
Okay.
And you get a vanity item for completing certain in-game achievements. Now, there was a lot, and I believe we can't go in or give an example of what these achievements were, or how you would complete them. But one thing, like, what it introduced to the game was more of a grind, and made you go out and do things a lot differently.
But was it a good grind, or like do I have to do this again kind of grind?
It was a good grind.
So it's basically fun activities, right? So it's basically, so the commendations are, so we can talk about the score, right? So it gives you like a commendation score.
Okay.
Which basically is an arbitrary number, or basically, you know, if you're used to Xbox Live, right, and you're used to Xbox achievements, like a gamer score, it's very similar to that, but obviously solely within the division. It's only a score that sort of you can see. However, the vanity items that pertain to those scores or achievements are visible, right? So that's sort of your identifier to other people. Now, the more difficult the challenge is, obviously more rarer the vanity items are.
Okay.
And that's sort of the idea. And you earn commendations from doing various, I'm talking, they have a lot, right? Various activities throughout your gaming life within the division.
Okay. So, a couple of questions for me. I don't know whether this will fall within stuff you can or can't answer. First one being, does every single commendation have an associated vanity item, or is it only some of them?
Only some of them for now.
Okay, fair enough. And so again, before ETF, when they kind of gave us the initial reveal, they spoke about this new mystery vanity slot. The vanity items you get from the commendation, are they for that slot, or are they for the kind of pre-existing, what we know right now, vanity, like, you know, t-shirts, boots, scarves?
No, they're completely new.
It's a new slot.
So it's the new. Okay, so commendations are tied to the new slot.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure in the last video we recorded on your channel, we went over something like wanting to show off our characters. Yes, definitely. This is what that introduces, for sure.
Right, okay.
You could be in the hub and you could show off what you've got.
Right, so ideally, with this in place now, no longer are you going to stand there and basically, like, everyone looks the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be a difference, yeah.
Alright, fair. So, and also, this vanity item, is this also the same as the stat-based vanity item that we get from the global events, or are these different items?
These are different.
No,
these are different.
Very different.
Okay, so global event is a stat-based item. You know, we can't talk about specifics, but a stat-based item, and commendations ties to vanity. So you're gonna kind of want to do them both hand in hand, because they're gonna kind of provide you with different things independently.
Yeah.
Okay, so it clicks now, because when you mention like a commendation score, so that's basically like, as you said, like it's kind of like a gamer score. So that score is like an overall total of the number of commendations you've made, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the vanity items, are they tied to score milestones or specific commendations?
Yeah, sort of. So you have sort of tiers to commendations, right? So you sort of think you've hit rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4. So whatever these vanity items will be, most likely the completion of all those tiers of a specific task.
Okay. Okay, I see what you mean. So yeah, so it won't necessarily just be like go and do like one activity and suddenly, I've got a new hat. But it might be like do this collection, this group of activities, and then I get my item kind of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. So, one question for you guys. Oh, go on. Sorry, Taylor. Go.
I was just going to say, one thing, for every commendation you do complete, you will get a score. It's just not everyone you'll get the vanity item.
So, with that being said, question for you guys then, because one of the things we spoke about in the last discussion was that from the initial reveal, when they described Feats, I think we all kind of came to the conclusion that, like, we were interested in seasons, we were interested in, like, the vanity slot, and at the time, we said that Feats didn't sound like something we would particularly go after because, George, you said that, you focus a lot on your Xbox achievements. Taylor, I think we were both sort of like a similar mind where we were like, it just doesn't necessarily, unless there's kind of something properly tied to it, it doesn't really seem like something we go out of our way to do. So now that you've played it, and now you know what they really are, has your opinion changed on that? So, George, how about you first?
For me, I think now that I've seen what a potential list of the commendations are, or the activities, they introduce something that's very unique and and in some instances extremely hilarious. So, I'm actually looking forward to them coming in.
Cool.
Yeah, I am looking forward to them coming in.
What about you, Taylor?
So I got a funny story. When we were there, one of them came up to me, or the guy that actually has been working on this specific thing, and he came up to me and he was like, "Oh, you're that guy on Arekkz's video that didn't like what I'm doing, aren't you?" And I was like, yeah, kind of. And he like proper put me on the spot, but like he said it was good to hear feedback, from outside the studio.
Okay,
so
nice.
He was really interested in like our feedback in particular, and when he did have his presentation up, it did change me a lot. It changed my mind fully, and it's something that I'm going to look forward to, getting our hands on again.
Yeah.
And like I said, because I said I wanted something to show off.
Exactly.
Make my agent look a little bit different than others, and that's what we got. So.
No, I mean, that definitely. As for me, for someone that didn't know about them beforehand, like it's now kind of always switch focus, because I've always been like someone that likes to customize my character, and I almost kind of take customization over like gear. So for me, I'd say from what you guys have described, Feats have now kind of suddenly become more interesting to me than seasons. So, I say that 'cause I don't know what the item you get from seasons. That may well change when I know what it is. But for knowing that I'm going to get a load of vanity items, and if I can just go, because also the thing as well, like I mean, people's way of playing this game has has changed. I mean, obviously, if you're the hardcore people that play it every single day reliably, and you're in like Last Stand, or you're in survival, or just doing doing whatever you want to do, fair enough. But like I'm in a position now where in the game where without kind of a gear score increase, I'm very much like I've done what I want. I've got my gear set, so I don't necessarily want to go and grind for more gear when I'm not really going to be changing my stuff. But I would actually go back and be like, let me grind to kind of get myself something that makes me look cool. So that sounds like something that I could actually just I could sit on stream and just go after a load of like commendations, and sounds like something I might definitely do. But we'll have to obviously see how it goes. But so kind of like speaking sort of like more broadly now, and again I appreciate you can't like we're to everyone watching this video, this is basically exactly what we're allowed to speak about, commendations and global events. So outside of that, we have to wait until Thursday. There'll be a state of the game on Thursday, and there'll be hopefully all the information, or at least more information shared, so we'll have like a much greater idea of that. I'm sincerely hoping so.
It's hard. It's hard at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. This life of like knowing stuff and then not being able to say everything. It's a fun game to play, isn't it? Yeah, someone that like lives my life around NDAs.
It's changed my look on things, definitely.
Yeah. But speaking more broadly, like having now played like 1.7, especially considering like I think we were all in a kind of position before where we obviously all play Division, but like not as much as we used to. Is 1.7 something that you feel like you would bring you back actively playing a lot? Is it like have you got like a much more positive vibe of the game following that?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I think 1.7 is enough to give something different to the people that already are playing it. I'm not sure, you know, like people that have put it down 6 months ago are going to come back for it. But I think the people that, you know, they use it as their intermittent game. They like the game, and you know, they always want to keep playing it, but they're playing other games at the same time. It's going to add a new, and then the hardcore players, right? It's going to add something new for them to come back, and the new loot, or the stat-based loot that's coming as part of that will definitely be. It's definitely going to tweak a few ears, right, and want people to come and probably want to come back and try to cheat and attain those.
Yeah.
I think the next update though is probably where people are going to be like lose their minds.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got to see. I mean, again, obviously you're not going to be able to go into any specifics whatsoever, but
No.
you've seen more than 1.7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, we've been allowed to confirm it on Reddit that we've played We've played elements of 1.8.
Ah. Interesting.
And based on some of the stuff that we've played, you know, you could argue, and there is no paywall to it, right? So everything that come in year 2, they've said is free.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be one of the biggest content drops since launch.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I would definitely say 1.8 could easily equal what we've already had in expansions, if not more.
Yeah.
I would happily go out and pay, what was it, like £15 per expansion pack?
Yeah. Again,
I would pay that again, if not more,
Fair enough.
for
Fair
1.8
enough.
alone.
That sounds cool. That sounds cool. But I'm gonna dial it back from there because I don't want to risk skipping
No.
far into anything like that. So yeah. So focusing again like on 1.7. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I super appreciate you guys, you know, taking the time to chat about that. But yeah, so we've got from what we know so far, we've got global events, which are kind of like seasons. There'll be a stat-based item reward that you can get from it, and of course that's tied to only that season. Actually, one more question I did have on that thing was, so one of the things that obviously is a discussion that kind of comes up a lot in the division is this notion of balance. Now, I know you can't speak specifically about what the stat-based item is, but do you feel like they are items that, if say I didn't play for season 1 and you played for season 1 and I didn't have that item and I couldn't get that item again, is that going to affect the balance of the game, or are they stat-based items in a different way? And if you can't answer, fair enough.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a really good. So balance could be a concern.
Right.
However, you know, without going into too much detail, I guess that you know there is ways obviously to achieve those outside of the event, I believe, but
Right. Fair enough.
But yeah, no. Until PTS comes out, no one really knows what the balance will be.
Okay, fair enough. Do we have any idea of when PTS 1.7 may be, or is that again outside the realms of?
I don't know. I can guess at the end of June, probably July time.
Fair enough.
But that's just an educated guess from how far down the line they are.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, all right. Yeah, so global events, stat-based item, seasons, and commendations are means to get vanity-based items for effectively doing cool stuff in game, or loads of different things and different ways to play the game. So, to sort of round it out, do you guys have any kind of like additional things that you want to sort of like chat about experience-wise, or have we kind of covered most of the stuff that you guys want to sort of talk about?
Blowing up cleaners and getting their heads exploding green pus was extremely enjoyable.
That sounds amazing. It reminds me of like GoldenEye paintball days.
Yeah. No. Global events is extremely enjoyable to play. The various all the various different mechanics, and they'll pertain that every different event will have a different core mechanic and then different group mechanics and stuff. So it's a really cool and interesting way to play. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, there's a ton more stuff that we haven't been allowed to talk about.
Okay.
That's coming in 1.7.
Nice.
So this is probably only about half of the stuff, or
Okay.
half of the things that are coming. And massive themselves. They wanted to be able to deliver a lot of that themselves, but they graciously allowed us to talk about these today. So
That's nice. That's very cool. Very cool. What about you, Taylor? Any kind of like rounding out thoughts?
Yeah, so actually it was me and Binary were on the same team when we were playing, or in the same group, should I say, when we were playing global events. And some of the missions and incursions we did made us play them completely different how we would usually.
Okay.
And it made me...
yeah.
It kind of gave me the sense of, this doesn't feel like a grind anymore. This doesn't feel old and repetitive.
Right,
It definitely like freshened it up and made us think on our toes rather than like standing in a corner and cheesing something, and
All
that's
right.
exactly
definitely
how I
changed
felt. So
Yeah. Cool. Well, sounds interesting. I'm definitely I'm personally looking forward to Thursday. Stay the game, finding out a lot more. Anyway, a massive thank you to you guys for taking the time to chat to me. So, as a recap, for those of you guys watching, Taylor does have a kind of more condensed video. If you guys haven't, I mean, if you're this far in, then you've already made it through half an hour. But if you want a more condensed video to know what global events and accommodations are, you can check that out. And then on Saturday at around 10 p.m. GMT or BST right now, then Binary will be having the Stolen Signal radio. That's the kind of phone-in one where you have a chance to, phone and chat about things. So obviously that will be after State of the Game. So you'll probably be able to speak a little bit more freely about things anyway. So if you guys want to find out more, definitely tune into that. I will link all the relevant stuff in the description box down below. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. So do stay tuned. There will of course be a lot more stuff. I know I've been a little bit kind of light on videos recently, but as we get close to 1.7, I will of course have a lot more stuff for you guys as well. I'm definitely excited to find out more. So once you do find out more, I will keep you guys up to date. But until then, thank you for watching. Shout out to you guys for joining me. Super appreciate it.
Thank you.
And,
yeah,
and we'll
thank
catch you guys next time.
very much. Cheers.
Bye.